I'm working with the SM Sehgal Foundation and based of Hyderabad. It's my pleasure to be part of Viswa Talk today, and I sincerely thank Viswa Talk for giving this opportunity. So, as the background has already been set by Sri Baniji, I'll straight away go to my presentation. Can you see the presentation?
It needs to go into view a slideshow. Yeah.
Slideshow. Yeah, so water conservation, especially focusing Telangana, though it's same for rest of the India also. So let's understand why we need water. What is a basic element which is very much required for every life? Almost more than 71% of our body is made up of water, including hydrogen and oxygen. Water is also one of the 5 most important element mentioned in Vedas, including Vayu, Akash, Dharti, Agni, and Jal. So we cannot imagine of any life without water. If there is a scarcity of water, we may survive a few days. After that, we start becoming weak, and there may be situations like life-threatening situations. And actually, water is an engine that drives all other activities, all development activities, whether it is agriculture, livestock, health, income, or environment. If there is water, there is prosperity. But if you remove water from any of these elements, definitely you will face poverty. Luckily, our earth, God has provided a lot of water, and this amount is tremendously huge. 1400 million cubic kilometer of water is available on earth. And this is available in seas, oceans, and rivers, and lakes, and canals. If you put all that water in on continental part, on land part, you'll be amazed to know that this can cover almost 3-kilometer layer on land. But wait, that huge amount of water is not available for human use. And this same water has been existing on Earth since billions of years. There is no change in total availability of water, and it covers most of our planet. But the problem is that only 3% of water is fresh. Say almost 97.5% water available on Earth is available in oceans and seas, which is highly saline and not available for any human use, for drinking, for agriculture, or for industrial use. Then remaining 2.5% is also not available because 69% of this water is also trapped in ice caps, glaciers, etc. So the fact of the matter is that only 1% of fresh water is available for human consumption, and that's a serious thing we should all consider. So roughly 20% of the world population do not have access to safe drinking water today. 40% do not have sufficient water for adequate living and hygiene. India, luckily having a lot of population, it has around 17% population, but only 4% fresh water resources are available. So it's ultimately rain that enriches all our water resources, whether it's a river, whether it's a pond, lake, tank, tube wells, bore wells, canals, even including tap water also comes from this rain only. All the water resources get recharged from this rain through the phenomena called rain, precipitation, snowfall, etc. We are lucky. We live in India, which is a well-endowed country. India has around 850 millimeters of average annual rainfall, and we have places in northeast which get highest rainfall, including Cherrapunji and Mausinam, which is the wettest place on the earth, going up to more than 11,000 millimeters of rainfall. Western part of India get little less rainfall, going up to 100 millimeters per year. But South India is again blessed with a lot of rains, and we get good rains. But the problem is this is not conserved or preserved in a manner so that it is available for rest of the year. So droughts are a regular phenomena in India, despite having wettest place on the earth. All these brown patches you can see, they face moderate to severe drought every year, and that's not the only problem. While many states are facing droughts, same states and other states are struggling with floodings. So during the time of independence, only 3% of area was under drought and 6% under floods. But it has now increased to 30% for drought and 60% flooding, which means almost a tenfold rise in droughts and floods since independence. If you look back at our per capita water availability, the national average is 140 liters per capita per day. Each citizen should be getting this much water. But larger cities, they are blessed because of our policies and privileges to the urban people. They get up to 165, but small towns get 50 liters only. And urban slums, they really face the brunt of water scarcity. They get maximum up to 27 liters per capita per day only to meet all their water requirements. The per capita water availability in India at the time of independence was more than 5,000 cubic meters per person, which has come down to around 1700 only in last 60, 70 years or so. And we are very close to being a water stressed nation. If we see the future trends, the per capita water availability is declining alarmingly, and we have moved from water sufficient to water stressed, and then water scarce country very soon. There are a number of water wars, water disputes. They are on rise. Per capita availability is declining, and if you see the per capita availability in different countries, you'll find that India has minimum water storage. So there have been large investment on water projects, constructing big dams and big projects in the name of irrigation and drinking water, but there has not been any attention on rain-fed areas, which primarily comprise of huge population, and they feed most of the India's population. Many of our rivers have already died, even if there is some water that is also highly polluted. At the same time, we are also facing the brunt of climate change. Because of climate change, we are facing extreme weather conditions. Monsoon is also disturbed. We get less rainfall. Some years we get excess rainfall. And most of our glaciers in Himalayas, they are shrinking. And there is a lot of snow melt which is coming to the plains and increasing the water levels in the oceans also. So we expect that snow cover will further shrink. There will be more snow melt, and Indian glaciers are definitely under threat. Some of them have already vanished. There will be hot extremes, heat waves, and heavy precipitation events, which will give rise to more floods and droughts. We are also facing repeatedly a large number of cyclones across the world, including India. Typhoons, hurricanes, they will all become almost a permanent thing. So sea levels are also rising. We can see the Sundarbans in Bay of Bengal. They are going to be extinct soon. And many coastal cities, they will face this problem. So if you look back at our water requirement and future water availability, definitely our water requirements are increasing day by day because of different reasons, urbanization, industrialization, and better living standards. But at the same time, water availability is on constant decline. And if we look at the different reports from central government reports, central government authority, uh, it clearly shows that there are more and more areas which are coming under overexploited zone, critical zone, semi-critical zone, or saline areas, especially Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, Daman, Diu, Pondicherry. They are exploiting more than 100% of annual groundwater recharge. And in states like Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, UP, it's more than 70%. So it's leading to drying up of aquifers, because of which tube wells are failing, and also increasingly leading to the contamination, finally leading to health hazards. So when we overexploit the groundwater resources, the salinity increases. There is lack of safe drinking water and risk of waterborne diseases. And salinity is on constant rise in Rajasthan, Haryana, Gujarat, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, covering a large population. And semi-arid zones, they are most vulnerable because of the climatic conditions and the groundwater salinity. When we overexploit groundwater, then there are more chances that the formations or the aquifers, which are made up of some elements, the leaching starts, and these formations provide constituents which are basically very harmful for health, including fluoride, nitrate, iron, arsenic, etc. And when if you see, more than 85% of drinking water requirement are met through groundwater only. People living in cities also, and especially on outskirts of the city or in rural areas, they mostly depend on the groundwater. And when they consume this groundwater, which is full of fluoride, nitrate, iron, arsenic, etc., they definitely face some health issues. We have this another problem also, that though the groundwater resources or surface water resources are limited in any city, and municipal supplies are also limited. Municipalities struggle to supply water to each and every citizen, but there is a single piped water supply only, and that water we use for everything. But the problem is that only 20% of this water supplied is used for drinking, cooking, and other potable purposes. The rest of it is used for bathing, washing, toilet flushing, or car washing, or watering our lawns, etc., which actually doesn't require that much good quality water. So literally, we drain down almost 80% potable water as wastewater into our sewage drains. And our drains, they carry a lot of domestic as well as industrial wastewater, finally discharging into rivers. In India, only roughly 27% of wastewater is treated. Rest 73% is flowing into water bodies, including rivers, lakes, etc. And these water bodies, they are almost dying. Some of them have already become full of wastewater, and they don't have any life. They don't have any fish. They don't have any other aquatic animals or plants. So their sustainability also depends on largely how do we manage our wastewater. So earlier, all the cities used to have a huge number of water bodies. They used to be ponds or lakes or tanks or cherus or kuntas, etc. But because of increasing prices of land, these have been facing threat from construction activities, from builders, from even from municipalities also. They are converting the wetlands into some developed areas. At the same time, the pollution, wastewater coming to these water bodies has converted them into a cesspool-like structure. You may remember there was a huge flooding in Mumbai in 1994. This is a study or analysis done by Center for Science and Environment, which clearly shows that in 1925 and 1994, the green cover has been decreasing alarmingly, and this is being overtaken by the built-up areas. So when you have more built up areas, there will be more runoff generated and there will be more chances of flooding. At the same time, the Methi River, which used to discharge all this water into ocean, has been encroached upon, and its width has been shrunk to almost 10%, so that water cannot quickly go out from the city to the ocean, and which leads to the flooding. And same thing we are seeing in Bangalore, in Delhi, in Hyderabad, or any other city of the country. So these are common scenario. Even during the monsoon season, people have to run behind tankers for collecting water for their daily water requirement. Our streets are flooded with water. Our aquifers are depleting. There is water pollution. There are riots also. There are means they are killing also for the availability of water. So our waters are definitely under a huge pressure. And in the 20th century, if you see the world population has tripled, but the use of water has grown almost 6 times. So it's a growing crisis and continuously growing. If you live around 1950, only North Africa, sorry, was having average or below average water availability. But by 2001 only, more than 75% of the world population has low water availability. And India is also, you can see on the red zone. So if you see the national scenario, the annual replenishable water is 447 billion cubic meters, and natural discharge 36 billion cubic meter. Net availability is 411 billion cubic meters only. Net draft for irrigation is 228 billion cubic meters. Net draft for domestic and industrial purpose is 25 billion cubic meters. And stage of groundwater development is around 62%. Around 50% of water is used for irrigation requirement, 50% for urban and industrial water use, and more than 85% for domestic water use in rural areas. So you see these all India figures as well as Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. You can see the number of overexploited, critical, semi-critical, and saline zones are on a constant rise. So this map clearly shows that more than 50% of India is already under extreme to high water stress. All these red areas, they're facing the acute water problems. And it's not only limited to India, but this is a global phenomena. And you can see that this problem is faced throughout the world. You may have recently heard about droughts in many European and American countries also. They are facing heavy temperature extremes, and there are wars also between cities and cities, states and states. You are very familiar about Narmada and Kaveri water disputes between different states. From a lot of water supply is coming from rural areas, so there are protests in rural areas. They don't want their water to be transported to the cities, but to be provided for their agriculture needs. And more than 1 billion people, most of them living in Asia, are having a shortage of water, and they don't have improved drinking water resources. So basically, we need to see what has gone wrong. So the shifting management of water resources to state from the hands of people is one of the main reason why we are facing water problems. Then overuse of rivers. There is no water left in the river. The basic environmental flow in the rivers have been disturbed, and many of them have dried or are full of wastewater. There has been increased abstraction of groundwater, but no recharge. And wastewater, 80% of wastewater flows into our rivers. And agriculture sector uses more than 85% of the available water, freshwater resources. But there are a lot of leakages and pilferages in the irrigation systems, and the efficiency ranges from anywhere from 20 to 50% maximum. Most of water gets wasted. So we are being modern at the cost of losing traditional wisdom when we talk about water. If we look back into our history, Indians have been practicing water conservation, rainwater harvesting practices since long time. This central picture you can see is imagery from Dholavira civilization, the 3rd BC Indus Valley civilization. And when historians dug out this civilization or this city, they were amazed to see that Indians have been practicing rainwater harvesting and water conservation practices since 3rd BC. They were diverting the excess water from the rivers during rainy season to the number of tanks constructed all around their settlement, and that water was used for domestic water requirement as well as for irrigation. Because that time we don't have facility of public water supply. There was no municipal supply in these cities. There was no hand pump, no tube wells. So the surface water was only available, and that they managed very wisely to meet their requirements. India is full of forts, and we find thousands of forts in India. This is just an example of Chittorgarh Fort in Rajasthan. This fort is located on a small hillock, and there are about 84 water bodies. One of them you can see in the picture also. There are another 83 ponds like this in the for this fort, and they were able to store so much water that even if enemy surrounds them for 2 years, they could survive with this water only, because that time they don't have tube wells, bore wells. So all the water which was stored in these tanks or ponds was only used for different purposes. And historians say that they were able to survive with the huge population, including their cattle also, for more than 2 years. And same thing is being practiced in Aizawl also, northeastern states, because this is entire hilly region. So the public water supply faces a lot of problems, leakages and other problems. So they have made these kind of tanks, small storage tanks to large storage tanks in their houses, where they store rooftop rainwater and then use it throughout the year, or especially whenever there is problem in municipal water supply, and they use it. The another you can see this imagery. South India is especially famous for tanks, areas, sorry, and they're all interconnected. So during rainy season, when one tank gets filled up, its overflow goes to next tank, and then it goes to third tank, fourth tank, and like that. And finally, the excess water. Sorry.
Is there a different slide you're putting? Is this same slide you're talking with about?
Yes, this climate resilient housing models. Can you see that?
No, we cannot. Yes, yes.
This
Correct,
slide.
correct. Yes.
So these blue dots in the red left-hand side corner, if you see, these blue dots are the tanks which are all interconnected. In Rajasthan also, these kunds and they store rainwater because the rainfall is very less. So even 100 millimeters of rainfall, people store and use it throughout the year. So the basic simple logic that even if you have minimum 100 millimeters of rainfall falling on 1 hectare land, you are able to store 1 million liters of water, and which is sufficient for meeting your water requirement. Traditionally, if you see, India has a huge number of water management or rainwater harvesting practices in different parts of our country. In Western Himalaya, if you go, you will find zincs, where people store the snow melt in small ponds or tanks, and then they use it for agriculture. In Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand, people make cools. Basically, this snow melt water they channelize and they take it to the fields and use it for irrigation purpose. In Western India, like Rajasthan, Gujarat, you have khadins, you have kuis, you have berries, you have kunds. In Indo-Gangetic plains in Bihar and other parts, you have ahar and pine system, where again excess water from the rivers is diverted to the fields, stored in small tanks called ahar, and then they use it for irrigation and other domestic water requirement. Similarly, in east, you have use of bamboo to divert this spring water and take it near to your house or to your field, so that you can use it for drinking or for irrigation purpose. You have zabo, other techniques where again this spring water or surface runoff is diverted and stored in small tanks or in fields. Similarly, in the south, you have these tanks or areas or kuntas or cherus, So India is full of these traditional water harvesting systems, and people have been managing their water resources very nicely. But I'll come to this why it led to deterioration of these systems. So, yeah. So people were managing these water resources very nicely through community participation. But then came the British era, and they said that water is not your problem. It is state's responsibility, and we'll provide you water through taps. Forget about these ponds and tanks and areas and everything. And slowly they started building up this network, but definitely there is a limitation. Each and every person cannot be connected to this tap network. So slowly, these water resources, which were community managed, they became property of the state, and the community connect with these water resources slowly shattered, and they came to neglecting the state, and because of lack of maintenance, they all died. There is a famous writer, Shri Anupam Mishra ji, in his one of this book, Aaj Bhi Khare Hain Talab, he mentioned the planning system of our old cities. He says that earlier, if he says today's condition, the city's status is based on its population. Less population means village, then you have small towns, then you have cities, and then you have metro cities based on population. But earlier it used to be based on number of water bodies, a number of ponds, or number of tank a city has. So the less number of ponds or water bodies, say 1 or 2, it was called a village. More than 10, it was called a town. More than 100, they were called metros. So similarly, all the cities, big cities, were given the name. So, as you know, that rain is the ultimate source of all kinds of water, and all our water resources gets recharged through rainwater only. So, it's equally important to give due credit to this natural resource, which we get free of cost everywhere. Maybe somewhere less, somewhere more. But if we conserve it properly, we can ensure that there are sufficient water supply from our taps, from our tube wells, from other sources throughout the year. And rainwater harvesting is simple activity of capturing rain, either storing it in storage tanks, which can be used for which can be directly used for meeting your domestic requirement, for agriculture requirement, or whatever it is, or putting it back into the earth, back into the soil, so that you can later extract through hand pump, tube wells, or bore wells for later use. Rainwater harvesting can be done in any building, individual buildings, apartment, institutions, schools, colleges, university, clubs, commercial complexes, industries, hospitals, airports, jails, any building which comes in your mind. There has to be simply some catchment area, and through catchment area you can divert this water, and you can utilize it for different purposes. So rainwater harvesting allows individuals to play important role in intelligent management of rainfall, because we don't get rainfall throughout the year. The rainfall is limited to the monsoon period, 3 to 4 months only we get monsoon, and then the rest of the season is dry. This also helps in taking off pressure of the local aquifers and municipal water supply systems, because when we store some water and we use it, we don't need that much water from the municipal water supply, so there is less pressure on municipal water supply. Or when we recharge these aquifers, our aquifers are also enriched and they give more water during the dry season. It also provides a measure of independence to the water users, because if you have stored some water in your storage tank, you can utilize it at any point of time. You need not to depend on what time water supply will come. And many cities, water supply is not regular. It comes for half an hour, 1 hour, maybe sometime in morning, maybe sometime in evening. And some cities get water supply really during odd hours, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. like, and people have to put a lot of efforts to store water for their daily water requirement. It also reduces the stormwater runoff and minimizing the flooding on the streets and in cities. There are a number of building bylaws also available in cities that each building should have rainwater harvesting, so that meets the legal requirement also. And as a concerned citizen, we should all go for it, because this is need of the hour, and it helps in creating the water literate and prudent society, and for climate resilience also. So this is all about the bylaws, building bylaws, Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board, municipal corporations. They have all come up with different bylaws to implement rainwater harvesting in different buildings. So rainwater harvesting can be done simply by two techniques, two methods basically you can see. First is storing it in some storage tanks and using it directly, or putting it back into the soil, back into the earth, so that it becomes part of our aquifers, and you can use it later through open wells, through tube wells or bore wells. So this is how you can calculate how much water can be harvested from a building. This is simple arithmetic formula. Have your building area, catchment area, multiplied by average annual rainfall, multiplied by runoff coefficient. So for a city, say roughly having 850 millimeter rainfall, like cities like Hyderabad, you can harvest about more than 70,000 liters from a small house. So this how much water can be harvested depends on what kind of rooftop or paved area or unpaved area catchment is there. And the runoff coefficient varies from 0.2 to 0.9 depending on the type of material, slope, etc. And you get maximum runoff from the roofs and paved areas. These are different components of catchment area, like your roof can be catchment area, your paved area, or even unpaved areas or soil areas can also be catchment. Then there are some pipes or conduits or cutters which carry this water to your rainwater harvesting system. Then you also need a first flushing device, which can discard the initial pollutants coming from the atmosphere, from the catchment area, which may include bird droppings, tree leaves, and any other dust particles, etc. Then you need some filtering system. This filtering system will take care of the pollutants. It will retain all those impurities before the rainwater reaches into your storage tank or the recharge well. So initially, initial rains carries a lot of pollutants. So initial first rainfall, if discarded, then you can store this water and can use it for different purposes. So for a family of even 7 persons, if we consider 200 dry days or the scarcity period where you would have limitations from municipal water supply or your borewell also fails, and if you consider 6 liters per capita per day demand, basically meeting your drinking and cooking requirements, you need roughly 8,400 liters of water. And we just saw that from a building of 100 square meter, we can harvest about 70,000 liters of water. So sufficient water is available for us if we do harvest it properly. There are different types of material, shape, size, etc., through which you can construct these storage tanks. And for recharge wells, you need to dig out in the soil. You need to provide a recharge bore of 4-inch, 6-inch diameter, going up to some depth, say 20 meter, 30 meter, 40 meter, depending on the groundwater levels and depending on the availability of a porous and permeable strata, which will accept a lot of water during the rainy season. And after putting some filtering media, you can divert all this water into earth. There are some examples where rainwater harvesting has been done, and especially through recharge, and the bore wells have been recharged, and now they are getting sufficient yields. Apart from individual buildings, this can be done at community level also. In a colonies, like this is example from Panchshilpa colony, where 26 recharge wells were constructed across the colony, and within the stormwater drain, you need not to disturb the anything. So you can construct these recharge wells or percolation pits inside the drain, and whenever rain comes, these recharge wells or percolation pits will take care of the rainwater for facilitating into the earth. There are some industries which have gone for rainwater harvesting. Is a textile industry in the near Gurgaon. So they need fresh water, and this area is a saline zone. So they were getting tankers from outside. So they decided to go for rainwater harvesting, and they are saving lakhs of rupees on tanker supply, and they are getting best quality water which is available for their processing. And they were able to recover their investment in within 8 years only. And any rainwater harvesting system will serve for 20 to 30 years. So there is a bonus like you get for over a long period of time. So all these designs for rainwater harvesting, either it is tank has less parameters, but recharge structures require some considerations, and all designs are site specific, and they need to consider some parameters like rainfall intensity, how much is the rainfall and what is the intensity, geology and hydrogeology of that locality, and quality of water. So these are other consideration, what kind of aquifers are there, what is the depth of groundwater level, nature of terrain, what kind of soil or what kind of rocks are there, geological formation, what kind of monsoon or rainfall is there. All these things can be sourced from some technical persons, and you can design the harvesting system. Now, where to store, where to recharge? When you have more number of rainy days and rainfall is temporarily reduced, like northeastern part of India and southern India, you can go for storage. And when you don't, when you have availability for domestic and industrial water, like Rajasthan, Gujarat, you can go for rainwater harvesting by storing it and using it. And some places like Bangalore, they charge heavily for municipal water supply. Then also it becomes very practical to store rainwater and use it so that you can cut down the municipal water supply bill. And recharge, especially when there is a less number of rainy days, so you get rainfall within very short period. So you don't know how to store it in big tanks. Then you can put it back into the earth. And when there is a rapid decline in groundwater levels and aquifers are drying and leading bore wells to give low yield, you can recharge them by groundwater recharging. And especially when the water quality is bad, groundwater quality is bad, then rainwater harvesting can help you in improving the water quality through means of dilution. And finally, when you don't know how what to do with this rainwater, then you can store it. So in Telangana, the development of irrigation or this public water supply is mainly dependent on Godavari and Krishna River, Krishna rivers and its tributaries. There are large number of tanks and ponds, which are important source of water used for irrigation as well as for public water supplies also. There are roughly 46,000 water bodies in Telangana, varying in size and shape. They're sometimes called tanks, ponds, or percolation pits. So these are different types of structure already prevalent in Telangana for recharging. Recharge pits, trenches, shafts in building, premises, open space, parks, and roads. You can also use dry or abundant bore wells, dug wells, or tube wells for converting them into recharge structures. And you can divert all your rooftop water or runoff water into recharge structures. And definitely you need to take care of the open areas, parks, and surface water bodies so that they are able to recharge a lot of water during the rainy season. At household level also, we can play our part in saving the water, because like water saved is water available for future use. So you can either implement rainwater harvesting, you can implement wastewater recycling so that water is used several times before it goes into the drains. And you can also adopt the water efficient fixtures and appliances. You can also check the leakages from your taps, toilets, etc. And you need to quit water wasteful practices. So how can you do it? You can reduce the tank size or flushing time of your toilet commodes. You can install water saving shower sets or low water taps or restrictors. You can turn off your water while brushing your teeth or shaving. Don't let the faucet run while rinsing utensils or cleaning vegetables. You can use automatic washing machines or dishwashers, but don't run them unless they are full load. And while you are irrigating your lawns and pots, do the deep soaking and do it during the cool period so that most of the water doesn't evaporate back into the atmosphere but is available for root zone. You can plant drought resistant trees and plants which use less water. Basically go for native species instead of exotic species. And you can put a layer of mulch around trees and plants so that you can minimize the water evaporation. You can use broom to clean driveways, sideways, and steps instead of running hose for washing as well as for car washing. These are recommendation for municipal corporations or local administrations that they must provide free technical guidance to the interested citizens who wants to implement rainwater harvesting or adopt water conservation measures and practices. And this also needs to be supported by availability of trained manpower, required material, and policies conducive for promotion of water conservation practices. There is also need for water conservation technology demonstration centers, place where people can closely witness the various water conservation technology and motivating interested people to approach local agencies to implement such technologies in their homes and offices. This will require training, education of these professionals, starting from plumbers, masons, engineers, architects, and government officials and other interested individuals, and also engaging local communities in water conservation practices through Jal Chetna Yatras, through exhibitions, through meetings, street plays, engaging students in water clubs, or involving people in World Water Day and other important events. So this is about just 2-3 slides only about how Segal Foundation is contributing to this water conservation rainwater harvesting program. So we augment rainwater through construction of check dams, tanks, etc. We promote safe drinking water through Jal Kalp or biosand filters, which provide safe and healthy water at the household level. We also help villages in treating the wastewater so that it doesn't create puddles on the street but goes back into the aquifers and cut down the cycle of waterborne diseases. We do a lot of water literacy and community empowerment activities, and our program, water management program, is reaching to more than 250,000 people across 85 villages in Haryana, Rajasthan, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. So it's time to give water a second thought because we can't live with water without water, and we need to use less, save more, and advocate always. Thank you very much. I'll be glad to take your questions.
That was a wonderful and enlightening talk. Thank you so much. But before we move to question answers, I would now like to request the audience to take a 30-second seconds to answer a poll for us. The purpose of the poll is to help us understand you a little better so we can better curate the topics that we bring to you. You can also let us know in the chat box how you found out about Vishwa Talks, if you are a Vishwa Talks subscriber, or you found out about the event on social media. While you take the survey, I would like to express my gratitude to everybody who has joined in today's session. Environment is something that we have noticed that not many people really respond to this topic. Come to kids education, we have 100 to 400 people attending. But when it comes to environment, surprisingly, the awareness in India is very low. And as Mr. Salahuddin had said, that it is pre-British era, it was the community which got together and worked on the water management in the villages and in the towns. But now we are really cut off from the water management systems of our country, of our villages, of our colonies, of our homes. And time has come for us to come back and become a community. And as he said, maybe create water clubs and water associations to bring back this awareness so that our future generations do not suffer. I would like to extend my gratitude to our respected speaker, Mr. Salahuddin, for taking out time from his extremely busy schedule to grace this event and give such a elaborate and a very detailed, comprehensive slides and on a complete thought process on the whole water issue. I hope it was of use to most of you, at least to bring in awareness. Vishwa, the idea behind it, Vishwa is an online platform for everyday change makers and social champions. It's a crowdfunding and crowdsourcing platform that is aimed at helping anyone find the support they need in their efforts to have their dreams for themselves, for others, or the world around, to make it a better place. In addition to thought-provoking talks such as the one hosted today, we also want to extend the curiosity for exploration to our youth and young ones as well. We have launched 2 new segments of Vishwa Talks, namely Vishwa Talks Youth and Vishwa Talks Junior, to facilitate learning and important conversation in the bright minds of the new generation. Please stay up to date when we launch our first Vishwa Talks Youth and Juniors program by subscribing to our emailers or checking up regularly on our website. Subscribe your schools and children to Vishwa Talks Junior today. Materials. This Diwali, please declutter your homes. Call up Vishwa. We will come and let you know where you need to drop off your materials in all the localities. Vishwa will pick up these and send it to the needy. Vishwa Materials is another initiative that we're very proud of. Imagine living in an economy where sharing is truly caring. And whatever you don't need, whether it be books, electronics, furniture, it could be easily listed and picked up by members of the community. The idea is that nothing goes to waste and there is something for everyone. It is a crowdsourcing platform for local communities to list and exchange items all for free. Vishwa has successfully done some fundraisers, one of which is Srujana, a student with cerebral palsy. It warms our heart here at Vishwa to see the real impact that our platform is creating in the world. In saying this, I'd like to touch on a success story. Srujana, a student with cerebral palsy, was able to leap one step further in her academic career. She used to walk down to 11 kilometers to school. Her principal from a small village in the interior Telangana had put up this fundraiser for an electric tricycle. It was funded and today she can come to school on this tricycle. Thank you so much to the generous donors who have made this possible. We're also coming up with the documentation of step wells. As you already know, our forefathers have had water harvesting happening since centuries, and some of these step wells still exist. Hyderabad Design Forum has identified 160 of these step wells, and they would like to make a book about it to document the numbers, document the engineering behind it, document the history behind it, so that when people come forward to restore them, these step wells will be revived rather than get destructed. We should thank our President, Mr. KTR. He has recently restored 5 step wells around Hyderabad. A big thanks to the present government for doing that. And we're also doing a book on the weavers of Telangana, Andhra by Creative Bee. Because most of the weavers and their children are moving out of this business and going in for jobs. So India is going to lose the weaving techniques which were here for hundreds and thousands of years. Ikat, today the so-called H&Ms and the new companies are coming out with digital prints of ikat rather than our age-old techniques. It's only a matter of time that in our generation, we're going to see these techniques disappear. Vishwa Foundation would like to work along with Creative Bee and video these techniques, document these techniques, and keep it for posterity for anybody who wishes to ensure that they are revived. We have Roshni Trust, which has been working in the field of mental health for the past 20 years. It has been providing free psychiatric camps. Today, with urbanization, we have small homes and nuclear families, people migrating from villages into cities, and then slums getting created. And there are huge mental health issues. And Roshni has a free service for the underprivileged also, along with a regular free service. We need to support them. Similarly, there are many such fundraisers. Please feel free to choose what you would like to support with. With this, we'll come back to the question and answer session. We have Mr. Mallikarjun Korwa saying, great session. Mr. Lumbini Bombaiwala would like to know the bylaws. If you know any, please share, whether it is on water harvesting or anything. Are there any bylaws for water harvesting?
Yes. Many cities have bylaws on rainwater harvesting. Like Delhi has bylaw which says that any building more than 100 square meter area should have rainwater harvesting system. And similarly for Bhopal, Indore, Hyderabad, Jabalpur, Jaipur, many cities, almost every city has some legislation on rainwater harvesting, that before you implement rainwater harvesting, you will not get a NOC or completion certificate from the municipal corporations for any building. Area may be different in different cities. Somewhere it is 100 square meter, somewhere it is 200 square meter, or a little more also. But definitely all new upcoming buildings need to have rainwater harvesting. And all the apartments, big colonies, 100% they have to do rainwater harvesting, otherwise their plant don't get approved.
Is it there in Andhra, Telangana, these bylaws?
Yes. Andhra also, Andhra, Telangana, even Hyderabad. Yes.
Is it followed?
Yeah, that is some kind of gray area. I would say that enforcement implementation is not 100%. But now I can see all the upcoming apartments and building, they are implementing rainwater harvesting, even if not the individual houses.
How in the ground level a resident, a housing community, and organized building can practice water conservation?
It's very simple. You need to put some recharge wells, percolation pits, recharge trenches, etc. For that, you can take help of some local expert who will help you to understand how many structures you require, what will be size of these structures, how deep should be your bore, what should be the dia of the bore, and how do you filter the impurities coming from the catchment area or from atmosphere before it is recharged. So now all the architects, all the engineers, they have some understanding, at least some understanding, if not very good understanding. If not able to provide directly, they can help you to connect to the good people who can help you in designing and implementation of rainwater harvesting system.
Are they in Hyderabad? Which are the consultants that individuals or apartment owners or independent householders can reach out to?
I may not be able to call out now names right now, but I can provide request.
Please do that. We'll share it with our viewers. Yeah, we have a question from Mr. G. Srinivas. Please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, good morning, sir. It is a very high informative about the water harvesting and taking care of the things, and you have revived and they really got connected to that actually. I have one because I work for some extent to water related products and give the information to the customers and the people who need of, and actually we have gone out of understanding about the water actually. So my concern is actually okay, harvesting is the best and we are doing it, and so environment is always eco protecting these water bodies and these things. Okay, some extent definitely from our side we have to do the needful things, but and also my question is how we are not stopping the taking the water from the ground. So we have to also take the steps to stop the taking the groundwater, so that the environment will be protected, and that is why my concerns are. And I would like to know from your words. So what is that we are? Is it what my idea is right, or could be doing something for it?
What I could understood is that saying that we should not extract groundwater beyond certain limits. There has to be some limitation, otherwise all these groundwater resources will be vanished. So for that you need number one, you need proper public water supply from municipal corporations, so that each and every citizen gets sufficient water supply to meet their daily water requirement. But practical problem is that all the cities are struggling to meet demand and supply gap. There is a huge demand between what is required, what is the supply, and what is the demand. So especially the outskirts areas, they all require these tube wells and bore wells only to meet their drinking water requirement. So again, going back, if we consider these water conservation practices and rainwater harvesting techniques, if people follow it, this demand and supply can be brought down. The municipal supplies can be sufficient to meet water requirement of most of the people. If we store, say, if we store 20,000 liter in our house, and if our water requirement is say 50,000 liters, so there will be 20,000 liters saving from municipal supply point of view. This 20,000 liter can be made available to the needy people who are not connected to the network. And if we can check the leakages in our water supply networks, if we can check the leakages from our taps, from our commodes, that water also will be available for somebody in the tail end. So that's how we can contribute as a citizen also, and help the government also to cover more and more areas with water supply network.
What are the Kaleshwar project, and how does it? How many villages does it reach in Telangana?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information. Maybe somebody from the group can help us understand that better.
I understand almost 80,000 of the 80% of the villages in Telangana, or 90% of the villages are given water through these the pipes coming from these projects. However, there is a lot of leakage by the community where the taps are not closed and things like that. What is your advice to the community on that?
See, all these water supply come from a long distance, coming from Krishna, coming from Godavari, or even from groundwater also. Many times municipalities source groundwater also from the rural areas or from the groundwater abundant areas. And then they have to put lot of pipelines, lot of pumping through pumps, a lot of manpower is also involved, lot of energy is also involved in pumping this water. But because of age-old pipelines, in many cases, or we have a very old system of water supply network. So the most of it, say up to 50% water gets wasted during the supply through this network, and some of it gets wasted as a leakage or pilferage from these pipes, as well as you said, that in many rural areas you won't find any tap to the water connection coming to the household. So as a responsible citizen, we need to check all these leakages, whatever we can, so that we close these taps, or put some gate wall, or at least fold the pipe and tie it with some rope or something, so that water doesn't continuously flow out of these pipes. Otherwise, water will not reach to the tail end. Even if it reaches tail end, there is a direct loss of this potable water, which is coming after a lot of efforts by municipal corporations, or public health engineering departments, or any other agency.
So while both the Kaleshwar and the Bhagirath the projects are lift irrigation projects, and probably the state would have to spend 5,000 crores a year to lift this water to ensure that all the villages have water. And we citizens need to understand that spending 5,000 crores implies that a lot of coal is being utilized from our ground, which again impacts the climate in a big way. While we are blessed and fortunate that our late Chief Minister, Mr. Rajshekar Reddy Garu, has, when the entire budget of the state was 20,000 crores, I understand for in a year, he has increased it to 100,000 crore with need to ensure is that there is no wastage of water, as Mr. Saiphuddin said, where pipes are just open without taps. Or also, what do you think of the crops that are being grown, and how do you think it should be what kind of crop should we put? Because 80% of this water, if I'm not wrong, is being used for agricultural purposes. So what do you think of the crop pattern that is presently being followed, and what do you advise?
See, in earlier times, people used to do a combination of crops. During rainy seasons, they were going for high value crop or say water intensive crops like paddy, maize, sugarcane, etc. And especially in the areas where they were close to the tanks, close to canals, close to rivers. Those areas only farmers were doing that. But now, because everyone wants to exploit the natural resources, they want maximum out of their small piece of land. Everyone is going for high water intensive crops for paddy, for sugarcane, and other things, which is not practically possible because the availability of water is limited, and definitely it cannot meet water requirement for high value crops or for high water guzzling crops. So we need to understand that millets which were part of our food habits also, we were using a lot of millets for daily use. Now nobody wants millet. Of course, doctors have been prescribing that go for millets if you want to get rid of diabetes, if you want to get it from sugar and hypertension, and all other things. It's because of our food habit is also completely changed over a period of time. Millets definitely take some little more time to cook and time to prepare. And in this situation, people don't want to spend much. They are pushing towards fast food. They don't even want to cook normal recipes. But again, we need to understand that you cannot. Nature has everything for meeting the need, but not for anyone's greed. So we have to use water wisely. We have to plan according to the available water resources. People can go for water budgeting in their village, and they can decide how much water is available and how many crops or which types of crop they can grow sustainably without harming the available water resources. Otherwise, there is this water. Though we were taught in primary books that water is available in unlimited quantity on earth, but it's not unlimited. There is limit to river water, there is limit to underground water. If we continuously use it indiscriminately, we'll not have left any water for our future generations. So we need to be wise to use it judiciously so that we leave some water for our future generations also. Otherwise, they'll be getting water through bottles only. They will not know. Many of our urban kids will not know about wells, about step wells. Many of them don't know rivers. So we need to give them this education that we need to play our part also. Government alone cannot ensure sufficient supplies for everyone's need.
How do we bring in this awareness where the government supports them in the crop patterns that should be put in the various locations, and there is a community awareness programs? How do we, is there any suggestion you have for this?
See, first thing is awareness, capacity building, and then conducive policies. You also need conducive policies. Like many farmers wants to go for millets, but they don't get good MSP. MSP is available only for paddy. MSP is available for sugarcane, but not for millets. Why should anybody go for millets? So
Excellent suggestion.
yeah. So definitely, these policies also encourage people to go for suitable crops. Number one. Number two, as a responsible citizen, we also need to understand that we cannot meet everyone's requirement if we continue using water for these high value crops, which require a lot of water, which means we are diverting most of this water for irrigation only. And then some villages face drinking water problems also in many parts in Andhra Pradesh, places like Anandpur. You get tanker supply 6 to 8 months in some villages because there is no water left in the aquifers. We have already exhausted it.
Yes. So one question from Mr. Afzal Ali Baigji. Please, yeah. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good morning. Thank you very much for a very good session. I'm in academics from past 20 years. Myself, Dr. Afzal, professor from engineering college in South. I just wanted to know what is the research development in the recharge pits, because from past 15-20 years, we are seeing the old tradition of rainwater harvesting. Is there any drastic changes that are going to take place in future for the rainwater harvesting?
Yeah, if you see, Indians have been very smart in managing water resources. They have been doing this rainwater harvesting since centuries. I just shared one slide which says that even during third BC civilizations of Indus Valley, Dholavira civilizations, people were doing rainwater harvesting or water conservation. They were diverting river water during that time and storing it in big tanks constructed all around their cities or settlements. And even say up to, if you look back up to 100 years, every state used to do some kind of rainwater harvesting, water management before Britishers took over of all our water resources and said that we'll supply you water through piped system, which never worked actually. Centralized system don't work for water management. Definitely, we need to go for decentralized community managed water management system if we need to make our water management a sustainable practice. Now, we need to consider traditional wisdom also and blend it with the modern scientific technologies and to innovate these technologies so that they are more adaptable, more suitable for the current scenario. Earlier days, people used to recharge their open wells, but now no open wells are not available. Definitely they need to go for some recharge wells. People can do simple recharge wells by constructing a bore, but nowadays a lot of innovations are going on in the field of rainwater harvesting and water conservation also. People have come out with the mechanical system also where you can recharge a huge quantity of water and through proper filtration, which can be directly used also. And I know we used to conduct a lot of training programs and many of our students are running rainwater harvesting business. They implement rainwater harvesting in different parts of India. Some of them have crossed up to 50 crore rupees turnover also, not only doing in India, but in other countries also. So what they do is, it depends on user's requirement. For what purpose you want rainwater harvesting, whether you want direct storage, whether you want to recharge it. I've seen, we have designed many systems where people are using it for drinking. So when you are using rainwater for drinking, definitely you need to have some good filtration system, which will remove all suspended particles, all bacteriological contamination, and any chemical contamination also before you use it for drinking. But suppose if you want to use it only for toilet flushing, just simple filtration will be helpful, and you can use it for flushing. I've seen one rainwater harvesting system in Kolkata, in Salt Lake area, where the groundwater is saline, and these people complained that all their white clothes are turning yellow within 1 or 2 months only. So they did rainwater harvesting only for laundry purpose. They have made underground tank. And now say that all their clothes look like Tide का एक Tide का और इनका वो ads आते हैं ना, छक्का सफेदी. So all their clothes are maintained very good condition. So it depends on what kind of purpose you want to go for rainwater harvesting, toilet flushing. Some people store it for gardening also. They complain that our flower pots don't survive long. All the plants we put in our apartment or house, they die within 1 or 2 months. So some people are doing it for that purpose. Some people are doing it for washing, cleaning, different purposes. Many industries doing it for direct processing because their groundwater is contaminated or saline, and they require, especially these textile industry, food processing industries, they need good quality water. So it all depends on your requirement and your availability of funds also.
So one question is, we see our present Chief Minister, Mr. KCR, has dug up or restored the existing tanks in all the villages, and we see our counterpart, Jagan Mohan Reddy ji, filling up these water tanks in the villages and giving out free housing lands. What do you think of each of these projects?
It has to be a combined effort by government department, by municipalities and local communities. No one can do it single-handedly. Everyone has to put their efforts, and by combined efforts only we can achieve something. Because most of our these water systems, they are managed by state government. So unless government comes out with good projects where committees are made aware, where the professionals are trained, and everyone puts their efforts to rejuvenate and revive the local water bodies, will not be having sustainable water supply either in villages or in cities. So these small water bodies, they play a very important role in local water resources availability. If local pond is recharged, if local tank has sufficient water, you will have definitely sufficient water coming out of your bore wells, which you can use for drinking purpose, which you can use for irrigation purpose. Even if there are some industries located inside your village or in your locality, they can also use that water. But if tank is dry, means you are in trouble, big trouble.
There's a question from Mr. Lobna Bombewala. Please unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Salahuddin. So I have a question. You mentioned regarding open wells, right? And you said that these are not possible nowadays. What is the reason? We have a project going on when we have proposed both recharge and open wells.
No. I'm sorry. Maybe I would not use proper words or communicated. It can be done. What I was saying is that in most of the urban areas, these open wells or dug wells have been filled up. They are
Right.
no more available in the urban areas. If
Mhm.
available, definitely you can use them, and with a very small investment, you can recharge a huge quantity of water through dug wells. So wherever available and not in use, please use all dug wells as well as tube wells or bore wells for you groundwater recharging purpose. By using them, you can cut down the cost of drilling, as well as the surface area of the open wells is pretty huge. You can
Right.
cover 10 to 100 households in one well only.
Mhm. And
So instead of closing these wells with mud and rocks or soil, better to use them for recharging purpose.
so for the borewell water, then again we'll have to treat it, right? We cannot directly use this water.
You can use it. It again depends on your requirement. I'll not
Okay.
recommend you to directly put all water without filtration into your any recharging system. Number one.
Mhm.
Number two, you have to maintain a good distance from your recharge well to your working bore well. Otherwise, you will have muddy water. You will have water coming without filtration from the aquifers. Now, there are many studies. It's all proved that if water moves around 10 meters of uh, 10 meters of consolidated good material uniformly, then most of the impurities are taken care of. Like if you have a cesspool, if you have a tank which is filled up with wastewater,
Okay.
and many people put bore well, hand pump, tube well slightly away from them, they get good quality water. Definitely,
So
there may be
what
some
would be the
places. So
minimum
you need to
distance that?
provide sufficient space, length and width from the source of recharge to the source of exploitation. Then Mother Earth is capable of taking care of it.
So
Most of
what
it.
is the minimum distance that you would recommend?
People
between
say 10 meters. At least
Okay.
10 meters should be maintained.
10
Though
meters?
it may
Okay.
be difficult in urban setting. Each house may not have 10-meter distance because
Agreed.
there are septic tanks also. There are different other cables also, electricity, communication cable, stormwater drains, sewage drains.
Right.
So there could be some practical problems also, but local experts can help you where to put it exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
There's a lot of talk about ecological conservation, and we see that these huge dams are killing the local fauna, flora. So what do you suggest? The things like check dams, what other things would you suggest?
So for water conservation, there are different types of structures suitable for different geological, hydrogeological, geographical, physiological areas. We have diversity in India in terms of language, in terms of climate. There is diversity in terms of water conservation structures also. Like in Himalayas, you will find zincs where people store rainwater, which not rainwater, but the snow melt. Because there is hardly any rain. The cities like Ladakh, they don't have any rain, but the snow melt is available, so they do that. In South India, you have plenty of rain, so you have tanks. In Rajasthan, where less rainfall is there, people construct khadeen, they construct kunds, they construct berries. So it all depends on the local conditions. So based on local conditions, local requirement, you have to innovate and provide a suitable structure. It could be check dam, it could be recharge well, it could be contour trenching, it could be gully plug, nala plug, or soak pit, soak well, made bandi or farm bunding, or anything else.
What would you advise for Telangana and Andhra for environment conservation?
See, Telangana, Andhra both have large number of these tanks. People locally call it uh,
Cheru.
Chervu or Kunta. So each village has at least 2-3 of them. So if they can maintain these chervus or kuntas and they allow all the rainwater from the village to flow to these kuntas, people should not be facing any water scarcity. But people have encroached upon the channels or the water flows. Water is not coming to these kuntas or chervus. Instead, wastewater is flowing into these, which is leading to contamination also.
So would a wastewater treatment plant, along with the rainwater coming into these kuntas, help?
No, number one, all this rainwater from the village should freely flow to these kuntas or chervus, which will recharge them on an annual basis. And finally, your tube wells, bore wells, or dug wells, or whatever sources you have, they will have sufficient water supply. Now, because of rapid urbanization, our water demands are increasing, water usage is increasing. So earlier we used to have less wastewater. Now we have more wastewater, and that also channelized through a network of sewage drains or stormwater drains. So that's available, which should be treated. I'll not call it a wastewater treatment plant, but wastewater recycling system. Because when we say plant, it requires a lot of pumps and all mechanical things, which requires a lot of energy, chemicals, and trained manpower. But there are naturally purifying systems which doesn't require any chemical, which doesn't require any pumping system or trained manpower, like stabilization pond or oxygenation pond. Through combination of these things, you can filter this wastewater and put it back into these chervus or kuntas, or don't put it back. You do directly use it for agriculture or for some other purposes.
I've noticed we have a lot of tanks in and around Hyderabad, and there are some generous individuals who have been adopting some of the tanks and ensuring that the pollution doesn't take place. It's greenified, a lot of parks around it. Would you suggest that every pond in and around our towns and villages should be adopted by the local industries or the local business people, so that the local birds, insects have a breathing place for themselves?
It's not only for insects and birds, but even for humans also. These are, we call it cities sponges, actually. There's a term, cities sponges. So whenever there is excess rains, all these sponges will soak water. Otherwise, flooding will take place in the cities. So when you have a good pond or tank available in your area, all these insects and all these birds, they come and they enjoy it. At the same time, you can convert these as a walking tracks or leisure places, or you can put some hotels, restaurants, or whatever you want, or And there could be again a community place. If you see old structures, all these step wells, bowlies, and other structures, they were community places. People used to come there during hot time of the day. They used to sit there. They used to chit chat, and they used to be a lot of stories about their personal life or their business life, and there used to be a lot of discussions. They were kind of what you call them, today's conference halls, which were these all these water structures, step wells or bowlies.
There's one question from Mr. Venugopal. Jeet, can you please take the question?
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, morning. My name is Venugopal from Hyderabad. Sir, this is very important when you look at, we stay near Gandipet and Himayat Sagar, see, a long time back, these lakes are, made basically from the top side, from Vikarabad, and all the rainwater is supposed to come and flow into this. But because of encroachment, that's not happening. Okay. So having looking into the past history, whatever we are going to do, to make the water come and settle down, whether it's a dams or, check dams, whatever it is. But if these kind of encroachments are coming, so the purpose is defeated. So how do we make sure that these encroachments are, can be stopped? And of course, this is a little bit different subject, but unless until we have very strict laws on this encroachment, if you look at, in Kukatpalli, that Nizampet, the whole Nizampet has come in the lake itself. Okay, whenever it rains, it gets completely flooded. So how do we really, take care of this issue? Thank you.
Yeah. So very first thing is that all these water resources should be mapped, should be geotagged, and proper survey should be done that what was the original area of these water bodies. The original area may be 100 acres, but on ground, if you go, you'll find 10 acres, 5 acres, or even 0 acres also. They have been taken over by real estate, or even municipal corporation may have constructed some buildings, some parks, some roads, etc. So for this, first is demarcation of these water bodies, then also demarcation of water feeder channels, and make them free. And we need to make strict laws. Whoever encroaches upon all these water resources, all these ponds, tanks, or feeder channels, it should be made. I think there are already criminal offenses, but enforcement is not there. Proper enforcement of law is not there. People take it for a ride, and any influential person can encroach upon, and then I don't want to go into that whole this thing. But definitely proper mapping and proper restoration will help. You need to make them useful places. If you have a pond, if you have a tank in your village, in your city, which is full of wastewater, which is stinky, it has no use. Keep them in good condition. And a lot of people go for morning walks, evening walks, and for picnics. Make them picnic spots. Turn them into jogging tracks, or make a small meeting room, conference room. Nowadays, a lot of people are working from home. Provide them some space where they can sit and work instead of in the walled areas. They can work in open spaces and breathe some good oxygen, which is not available in most of our buildings. So you need to make them usable spaces instead of them like junkyard.
Yes.
I hope that helps.
No, fantastic. As you said, geotagging and identifying and then putting it in Dharni and all will definitely help in the long run for things to be streamlined. So one question from Mr. Chandrasekhar B. Sir, at present, there is no stormwater drains, nalas provision in cities except roads which are growing organically. Your suggestions?
In olden days also, there were no sewage lines, no stormwater drains. Water used to flow from the roads only. But that time people have some kind of system. They used to respect water resources. So if you take example of Rajasthan and these kunds, people used to respect them. They will not go with their chappal, shoes, or sandals on the catchment area. I have personally seen it. Even in today's time, whenever they are entering a catchment area, agor, they call it agor, they will remove their shoes. They will put fencing so that animals also don't enter on these catchment areas, so that whatever water is collected is of good quality. So it may be little difficult in today's scenario, but you need to keep your surroundings clean so that you have less solid and liquid waste, and whatever water is coming from monsoon or rains during rainy season, that all is free from these contaminants, and that reaches the nearby tank, pond, or chervu, kunta, whatever you call it. It can be done. And even if there are some drains, stormwater drains, this water can be easily channelized and maximum water can be harvested.
Another, Mr. Anant from Bangalore, thank you all. It was a great program to create awareness and refresh on people's thoughts and ideas on what and how to do better management of water. There's a question from Akila C. How is the rapid urbanization and real estate spread and advancement at open natural ecosystems around Hyderabad going to affect the water table?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
Because of the rapid urbanization and real estate spread and advancement at open natural ecosystems around Hyderabad, it's going to be affected. How is it going to affect the water table?
See, olden times, there used to be more soily or unpaved areas. And I was talking in one of the slides that from rooftop, you get maximum runoff because you have some pavement, some floor, something, and the absorption is less. So you get more runoff. But in open areas, you get less runoff because there is more absorption by the soil. So if we are concretizing our cities, means we are increasing the runoff and we are decreasing the recharge areas for the cities. So definitely we need to keep open areas proportionately so that there is sufficient scope for recharging during the rainy season. If there is no inflow into the earth during rainy season, if they doesn't get recharged, then your groundwater is limited. You will end up with exhausting this groundwater within few years. Thanks to our natural system that every year we have rains and through rivers, through these lakes, through tanks, ponds, recharge wells, etc. Some water gets recharged and keeps them alive. Otherwise, these aquifers are dead.
Because of the free power, what we have noticed is if an acre of land has around 200 mango plants, each plant requires 25 liters. If the borewell is on for 10 minutes, all these plants are taken, the water requirement is taken care of. But due to free power, we understand that the borewells are on at 3 o'clock in the morning and they run till 7 o'clock in the morning, impacting the water table. Is there a possibility of putting a meter? The government need not charge, they can still give free water, but by putting meters, would that help in correcting the wastage of water?
See, I have full sympathy with all my farmer friends. They are not getting a good price for their produce, and their land holding size is also going down. So they need to get maximum output from the small piece of land. And these are all political decisions basically to provide free electricity. Farmers don't require free electricity, but sufficient water available around the clock. Now you see this free electricity is available, but what time? Farmers have to go in middle of the night to switch on the pump. Who will go? That's why they are keeping their pumps on every time, whether their crops require it or not require it. And I'm sorry, this free water, free electricity should not be supplied for high water intake crops like paddy or for sugarcane. Definitely, you require a huge quantity of water. But if it is not available, then how will you ensure that water is available for other crops also and for drinking also? So it's very important to understand how much resources are available and how to use them prudently and judiciously.
One Mr. G. Srinivas ji has a question. Please unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, again, Srinivas this side, and thank you so much for a very elaborating and very discovering discussions are going on, and thank you to the team actually.
Thank you, sir.
I have one, it is a kind of a suggestion, it is coming out of my ideology from a long time, sir, actually. So this all urbans, due to the green revolution, thanks to the environment, we are getting the sufficient rains, right? Even sometimes more rains. But we don't have competing system to harvest these water. Because my idea is actually we have the development, we have sewage lines for the taking of the drainage, everything. So my idea is coming like actually we can also should have a kind of a separate line, circulation line to this. Whenever the rain comes, those water will be put onto the nearest ponds, or otherwise these all roads, long roads are under the roads are all government and it's a free land. So why can't we dig and a very depth level and put this water going into that, and so that it will be harvested from the government side? If this kind of a steps if they take suggested, so even normally in the now big communities are coming, and the communities also we have to initiate that pakka that they must have. So there are some initiations are there they are taking. It's not I'm not saying that harvesting is happening, but in a large scale, if we can make it up, and we can rescue the ground level water, and we can harvest the surface water, so that we can reduce the depend on the groundwater, so that the environment, the temperature of the environment will be controlled, and then we'll have a regular rains, and so we are set up for going back for the ecosystem. That's my suggestions are actually we can.
It's a highly valuable suggestion. Instead of collecting all this water in stormwater drain or sewage drains and then putting back into rivers or drains or nalas, which goes back to the oceans only, it's better to collect this water through stormwater drains or separate lines and put it back into the nearby tanks, charus or kuntas, so that they recharge the local aquifers. Fantastic suggestion.
Especially if you see Hyderabad, sir, every 5 kilometers you go any length and breadth, anywhere you go, you have one nearby lake will be there, sir. So these lakes are all become dirty things. So it is possible when things comes up with the people, they want to change the system, they definitely can change. And as you suggested that already, they are developing the greenery around and stopping this thing. So we are stopping. But thing is, whatever the rain, when the rain comes, it goes into one way, and it's because without the environmental, because of the heaps and these things, so definitely the lakes are filled with the dirty water. So before getting the rains, so they kind of uptake for removing all the debris and keep the lakes ready. And there is a separate line, because there should be some leverage between the drainage and this thing. So they have to stop getting the water, this rainwater into that, and we can do some kind of a regulation in that, and then we can divert. That's what it was coming to me.
Very valid suggestion, sir. Definitely, they highlight the lacuna of our city level planning, where we are not providing sewage lines and stormwater drains separately. Everything gets mixed and then ends up finding its way into the.
And we can also control this drainage system also, sir. Each geographically, it is colonies are the communities are divided. So whatever the sewage is coming, so they should be, it is cleaned up and just get some fine water to be drained into some lakes or some this thing, so that it will not be very harmful or anything to the aqua or plants and this thing. So decentralizing this what we call this seepage system, that will make more practicable for the harvesting the water also. That's what it is coming to my mind, sir. Actually, I just wanted to put.
Thank you for your
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for participating and for allowing this exchange of thought, Mr. Srinivas. Coming back, this is a couple of last questions. One from Mr. Vignesh Rajendran. Has the number of water tanks, areas, that is water storage, increased or decreased in the last few years?
It is certainly decreasing day by day, because all these tanks, areas, ponds, kuntas, cheru, they were made by our forefathers only. Nobody is making new tanks or kuntas nowadays. Rather, they are encroaching upon the available one. So definitely the number is going down day by day.
While as I'm talking to you, I just remembered we had one speaker, Miss Vanita of the Sirutali Foundation. She has actually restored more than 300 water tanks in and around Coimbatore. Big thanks to her, for the kind of work. When Mr. Salahuddin is saying that right now there are no new tanks coming up. It's really great when some industrialists come forward and actually work towards this water cause. We need more such people doing. One last question, one last suggestion, offer from Ms. Lubna Bombewala. If we have taking measures for water conservation in our project, is there any way we can join your movement? So then there is
yes,
one.
Everyone is welcome to join this movement. This is not our movement, but this is a committee's movement, public movement, and for everyone's requirement. And we'll be more than happy to join hands with anybody, like-minded individuals, organizations, government department, anybody who wants to work with us to achieve this goal. Definitely, we look forward for such supports.
One last question, from Ms. Akila C. While developing large-scale real estate and industrial projects, what adequate measures should the government and we as citizens need to take to ensure water sovereignty for our future generations?
See, now government has made this environmental impact assessment mandatory for all big projects, whether it is residential project or industrial project or construction of road, etc. But see, there are different ways and means of getting things done. Many times government also provides permission to polluting industries to be set up in residential areas or eco-sensitive zones, especially close to the coastline or closer to mangroves or many other eco-sensitive zones. So as a citizens, what we can do is we can demand. We can act as a pressure group. Such things should not happen, which will affect human beings, which will affect ecology and environment in long term. So we all need to be very cautious, very alert in identifying all these activities which will affect the local environment, ecology, etc. in long.
Thank you so much. You've been so patient in answering so many questions from so many people who wanted to share their thoughts. Thank you so much.
I also enjoyed these discussions with different people and learned a lot from other people's experience. And thank you so much again for providing this opportunity, Ms. Vani, and your entire team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to all the participants too. With this, we close the show.
Please join the breakout room, sir.